the challenge, honestly, is it has a significant impact on health and safety, right? And I call this as humanizing construction using AI.
Hello, listeners, and to some of you watchers out there, now that we are bringing these podcast videos directly to you on Spotify. Welcome to Brains Byte Back, where we spotlight innovators changing the game in their respective industries and creating new ones along the way, arguably. I'm your host, Eric Espinosa, and today we are diving into the world of construction, modernized construction, or better yet, the future of construction that is today. Our guest is Hari Vasudevan. He is the founder and CEO of both Think Power Solutions and Kyro. His diverse background has led him to create these solid and evolving project management platforms, which use modern technology as their toolbox to solve some of the construction industry's biggest challenges. And the strongest power tool in that box is, you guessed it, AI. Imagine this. A construction site where language barriers disappear, where safety isn't just a priority, but it's built into the system, and even helping communities recover faster from natural disasters. That's exactly what Hari's team is doing. In his words, they're using AI to humanize construction. I love the sound of that. So whether you're into tech, construction, or just love a good story about innovation with a purpose, then stick around and join us.
My name is Hari Vasudevan, founder and CEO of Think Power Solutions, founder and CEO of Kyro. Essentially, I make sure that the company runs well, employees are happy, customers are happy, investors are happy. That's in a nutshell. That's what I try to do.
So the goal is to make everyone happy at the end.
Yes,
Yes, perfect.
yes.
Hari, it's a pleasure to have you on Brains Byte Back. I really want to start with your journey because I understand that you have a background in engineering, you have a keen interest in construction, and you have a love for technology. How did the combination of all this lead to you founding Think Power Solutions in Cairo?
Yeah. No, listen, I mean, I think you rightly pointed out I have a background in engineering, right? And worked on really massive capital projects. Lucky enough to get started on working on massive capital projects from the get-go. And then started off with highways, then morphed into oil and gas, and then through luck and chance, I got into electric utilities. And what I did see from an engineering to construction gap, right? There's a big gap between engineering and construction, meaning us engineers, we design stuff. We think we design the best stuff in the world, right? Civil engineers and candidly an engineer. But the constructability piece is always challenging. You don't really understand the complications that come through when you're building stuff that are engineered, right? Engineering can happen anywhere in the world, honestly, right? Thousands of miles away from the actual site. And when construction happens, you encounter situations that are not really thought through, right? So in the field, crew members, supervisors, superintendents, they make decisions to ensure that the design intent is met in the field during construction process. And that's not always relayed back to the engineers, right? It's called as-built information for nerdy stuff, right? And I felt like, there's a gap that I could solve because I understood construction really well. I could communicate with the field, folks in the field really well. And they could communicate well with me, but that's not always the case with everybody else, all the other engineers. So I felt like I could bridge the gap between the engineering and construction. That's how Think Power started, right? And fast forward as we were kind of building Think Power Solutions, we wanted to create a differentiator to customers, right? We just didn't want to go in and say, hey, here we are. We do the same thing that 10 other companies do, give us work, right? So we wanted to add some differentiator that adds value to the customers, and that's how we started embedding technology into our services. And at some point around 2021, I realized that for technology to truly flourish and really take it to the next level, to attract the right talent, right? We needed to spin it off and give a life of its own. That's how Kyro was spun off from Think Power, and now it's thriving on its own. So that's the long story there. So
When you talk about the gap, what type of gap are you talking about? Is it terms of communication, collaboration? Because when you work on these big projects, even like software developers, there's a lot of tools out there in terms of, there's a lot of moving pieces. Everybody has a role here. What are you doing specifically, I guess, to bridge that gap that you're referring to?
Yeah, and a great question, right? So initially, the gap I saw was the what all that you mentioned, right? Lack of collaboration, lack of communication. How do you make sure that if the design is updated, how do you make sure that the most up-to-date design is what is being used in the field for construction? Believe it or not, a lot of times, engineers are great at updating designs, but not communicating it in a seamless manner to the field so that the updated designs are what is being used for construction, right? And vice versa, when a change is made in the field for constructability reasons. Simple example, an engineer might have designed a foundation to be to go 2 feet into rock, right? And during the design, they might have said, you know what, we encounter rock at 10 feet. But during actual construction, the rock might be at 4 feet for all you know, because it's not always going to be the same geologic formations. And they make a decision in the field. Oh, instead of 2 feet, we'll go 4 feet because it's too shallow of a foundation. How do you communicate that back to the office? How do you make sure that it's documented, right? And we all might have run into situations where people are digging streets, recently paved streets, digging it again and again. And the reason is because they now don't really have accurate as built information. So the next time they actually do a project there, they may hit a pipeline or a sewer line or water line, whatever that is. And the reason is that it's not accurately marked. And we want to make sure that that gap is solved. And that's the original intent, right? But as I started running the business, as I scaled the business, Think Power is now more than 400 employees. And what I really found was it has a huge financial impact. I'll walk you through this, right? So you go to the field, a customer gives your employee a purchase order. So the purchase order is used to set up the projects in the system so that employees can track time properly, so that it's bill back to the customer properly and things like that. So think about it. If a PO is not set up properly or the project is not set up with the right PO, time is tracked incorrectly, which means your invoices are incorrect. The customer is not going to pay the invoice, which means you need more cash to run your business because it requires more working capital until you get the accounts receivable back. It has a cascading impact, if you will. So what we did with Kyro was, hey, you know what? We could actually use AI to scan the work orders, set up the projects properly, accurately. That means time and materials, everything else, right? Equipment, everything else is tracked accurately, which means your invoices are more accurate. And honestly, which means you require less cash to run your business. In construction, as you know, right? Before recording, you were telling me you're coming from a family of drywallers. It's a low margin business, right? And when you have low margin, if you require more cash to run your business, which means you automatically erode margins even more, right? So it not only has an impact from our perspective, what I saw, it has an engineering and construction collaboration communication impact, but also really a business impact on a cash flow basis, right? How do you run your business? And that's what it's evolved into, right? That's why we call it as digitize projects, reduce risk, and honestly maximize profits.
Time is money in this case, right? Most people would argue, especially when it comes to construction. Obviously, you have to value time and your efficiency with time. And just
Absolutely.
to go back into what you mentioned, because AI is an important tool that you're using in the process, right, to guide these companies. Is this something that you had in mind, I guess, at the beginning when you were first creating Kyro, or is it something that you just recently, I guess, as an engineer and somebody that's in tech, you really saw the value of it early on? Because, like you mentioned, there's a lot of companies out there that kind of do similar things. How did you look to leverage AI in order for you, to have your product really stand out?
Yeah, no, listen, I say this to people all the time. Sometimes you get lucky, right? And timing is a lot of things in life. And when Kyro was spun off, it is really the beginning of the AI stage, right? I mean, late 2021, early 2022, and super fortunate to get some really, really fantastic people as part of the founding team, right? Head of engineering, chief software architect. They really saw the vision of how the problem that I lay out there, and they felt like, you know what, in the age of AI, we could actually run faster than the competition. And if you build a AI first construction management software, we could actually outflank the competition and go from there. So that's how things got started from an AI perspective. I knew the problem statements, right? AI was candidly a luck of the timing, if you will, and obviously putting the right team together, attracting the right talent. That's all the rest of the problem there.
With an industry that's like very blue collar, and I
Yes.
look at my dad, and we talk about AI, and there's some hesitation there. I guess from more of the guys that are kind of on the ground. So when you introduce this tool, how do you introduce it in a way that I guess reduces the skepticism or the fear that most people have that it might replace their jobs rather than make their
Absolutely.
jobs more efficient?
It's a great question, honestly, right? Listen, I live in Texas, right? And when I work with construction folks in the field, one of the reasons why there's a big communication gap is because if you truly think about it, in employees in the field, many of them are Spanish speaking, right? And there's definitely that gap, right? How do you bridge that gap between the field and the office? Because they're more comfortable using a Spanish vernacular to convey it back to you, right? So, what we've done is, hey, you know what, you could speak to us in Spanish and it'll convert it into English and get back to you. That's a really easy win for us, if you will, right? And the ability to really convey the message. I mean, even today, if you look at it in construction world, people will communicate using SMSs or MMSs with big photographs and things like that. If you tell them, hey, listen, you can actually use the application to take pictures, document what you did, speak to the app in Spanish, it'll convert everything into English, kick it back to you, right? It's an easy way to communicate, to communicate the value, right? To help them communicate with people who are not Spanish speakers, if you will, right? That's more. Number two is I truly believe, the many challenges in construction, if you will, right? People work long hours. I'm sure your dad probably worked a lot of long hours, right?
Early mornings. I remember
I
I did
know,
it for a little while with
early
them. It was
mornings,
those
late
early
nights,
mornings.
right? And the challenge, honestly, is it has a significant impact on health and safety, right? And I call this as humanizing construction using AI. Your folks may have worked for themselves, right? But if you look at it from a large company, there are perverse incentives at play for project managers to kind of turn a blind eye to people working long hours because they want to get the projects built. They want to make money at the end of the day. They want to make their bonuses and things like that. If you have the right tools in place to track long work hours, long stays away from home, and honestly, risky job site behaviors, if you can use AI to kind of track all those and nudge different stakeholders who may have incentives that are not always aligned to financial outcomes, right? Hey, project manager, hey, this person has been working 80-hour work weeks for the last 6 weeks. Time for him or her to take a break, right? And same nudge goes to the safety person. The safety person has a different incentive to keep the project safe, right? And the project manager has an incentive to get the projects done. But when two of them get the same nudge, at the end of the day, if the companies run well, the safety aspect is going to run over the getting the job done. Because honestly, when you do turn a blind eye to health and safety, it comes back to bite companies in the back. Because if an incident happens, you could literally, the company could go bankrupt, right? So honestly, if people are running the company well, all those things will take care of itself. So AI to humanize construction with different nudges helps. So back to your question, right? Tying it all together, how do you get people to actually buy into your vision? Is number one is ability to communicate. And honestly, if we tell them, hey, this is all is going to be help you keep safe, not going to take your jobs away. It's not going to robots are not going to build homes, right? But it's truly helping you become more efficient. I think it's a way to get people on board.
I think that's a very creative way in using AI, especially when it comes to languages, right? Like really understanding the overall uses that it could have in the industry. Is there anything right now, because AI is really advancing, is there anything that you're kind of looking at right now or new features that maybe down the line you're maybe playing around with in hopes
Yeah,
of
no, actually,
advancing?
we're playing with a lot of cool stuff. uh, by processing images and trying to look for issues in the images that is not visible to the naked eye by training, the system for through tons of other similar issues and things like that, right? That's one thing trying to do. Other thing we're really trying to do is what I call is the Uber for storm response, right? Where do you live, Eric? I'm just trying to curious.
I'm
Where do
based out
you?
of Toronto. Yeah.
Toronto. Okay, there you go. So,
The city of cranes is what we like to call it.
what is it?
The city of cranes is what we like to call it because
There you go.
we have
Right.
two
So,
seasons. It's construction or winter, one or the other.
right. So, no. So, if you think about it, I'm sure you've read about the LA wildfires, the storms a few months back in the Carolinas and Florida, Helene, I think, right? All these things, what you need to recover from the storm is a super fast storm response for storm restoration, if you will, right? What do you need for all those things? You need restoration crews, which are nothing but construction crews, right? You first need to evaluate damage, and then you need to send crews back in there to get them up and running, right? On the electric utility side, which has been the significant part of my business at Think Power, right? Think Power Solutions is like we're developing something where we're tracking storms, right? We're tracking resources that are close to those storms, right? Close meaning 4 8 hours away, right? And when the storms hit, we're able to bring people together very quickly in minutes as opposed to days and hours, and send them to the to restore from a storm damage, if you will, right? To again, time is money. So faster the response, it's better for the local communities to get back up and running. You don't want to lose power for weeks at a time. If your power is up and running in days or hours, that's great, right? So we're helping get there. So from an AI perspective, we're tracking storms, collating storm response crews together, sending them out there, tracking time, tracking equipment, tracking expenses, putting all these things together, sending accurate invoices to the customers, getting our ratepayers back up and running with power, minimizing power outages. That's one thing where we're really practically impacting a service using AI.
That in a way, it's kind of like leveraging AI for good, not
Yes.
just in terms for business, right? But helping people in the community.
Absolutely. I mean, that's truly what we believe in. The AI can be used for a lot of things. I mean, some people use it for positive things, and some people use it for nefarious things. But even positive things, I like to see things used in a way that directly impacts people in a positive way, and that's what we're trying to use AI for.
Amazing. So I'm going to put you on the spot here because I feel like this is a question that's going to make you think. What's the most surprising insight your AI tool has uncovered for a company that you've worked with?
It's a great question. So, when we rolled out first AI within Think Power, right? Uh, what is not always obvious to the eye in terms of, hey, you know what, we have obviously multiple supervisors managing multiple teams, right? Sometimes you really don't know who your top performers are. I mean, there's this perception out there. It's like, hey, project manager A is doing a great job, project manager B is doing a great job. It could be for a variety of reasons. Hey, you like him or her, how they talk and things like that, right? But when you see the results, and the results are much more, they speak louder than words, right? What we were able to do was we were able to put AI in the hands of these project managers, and they are able to gather insights into their operations using natural language queries. Hey, what is my overtime here? What is my regular time here? What is the impact of that on my business? And when you see them make adjustments to their business based on the use of AI, that really shows who the great performers are, who's the star of the future, potential star of the future, and things like that. So we've really been able to leverage AI. In a nutshell, we've been able to leverage AI to optimize our businesses, develop our people, and see the growth for them. That's been the greatest insight for me from an AI perspective. So
In a way, it sounds like that could also eliminate bias with some people, maybe, favoritism with some, but when they look at the data itself, it kind of tells a story of how the employees are performing,
100%,
in a
100%.
non-objective way.
You're
Yeah.
able to actually listen. I mean, there have always been dashboards, there have always been a way in which you can visualize it, right? But when you're querying information in a way that is much more natural to you, natural question, right? Which is different for different people. It's like I can say, hey, can you show me, compare the financials of 3 project managers over the last 3 months, right? That's an easy way. That's a natural way in which I think, right? If you put it in the hands of a project manager and give them the power to ask that question, what it does for them is they may or may not feel comfortable going to the CFO or the controller or whoever on the finance side is to ask that information. But if you give it to them, the power of AI, what it really does do is it allows them to query a question that they have in their mind, in their own vernacular, and have the system output it and make adjustments to their business, because we run a very entrepreneurial business. And when you're able to do that, you're able to see who fits within the company's future plans better than somebody else, right? At the end of the day. And we're able to do that much more effectively, because not everybody's wired the same way. Some people are introverts, some people are extroverts, some people are more comfortable asking for help, some people are not, some people are happy to reach out to CFOs, some people are not. So we're able to see this impact of it in a much more meaningful way as we run the business.
Hari, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast and contributing your insight. Honestly, valuable. It's good to see how you're basically bringing construction into the future. If somebody's interested in connecting with you, what's the best way they can reach out?
I'm very active on LinkedIn, right? They can definitely find me on LinkedIn, shoot me an email, hari@thinkpowersolutions.com or hari@kyro.us.
That's a wrap for today's episode. If you've benefited from what you've learned today, feel free to leave us a review on iTunes. You can also find all our past and future episodes on YouTube and Spotify under Brains Byte Back. And if you'd like to connect with us directly, you can always reach out to us by email at info@sociable.co. Remember, your feedback helps us grow. We welcome it. We appreciate you joining us. Until next time.